We had Lionel Messi in soccer, LeBron James in basketball, Serena Williams in tennis, Tiger Woods in golf, Wayne Gretzky in hockey, but we haven't seen that level of dominance that LeBron had at the high school level, you could say, within the sport of track and field until Cooper Lutkenhaus came onto the scene. Cooper has been on an absolute tear. This is my third or fourth time having him on the podcast. I've known him since he was in 8th grade, and since that very point, I knew he would be special. I don't think, though, I thought he would be the youngest person in the history of track and field to win a World Championships gold medal, which he did last month at the World Indoor Championships in Poland. He won the 800-meter race in 1:44, and he's been on an absolute tear since then. He was 17 years old in a couple months when he won that gold medal at the World Championships, and he's just getting started. I will keep this intro short to not keep you away from the story and wisdom and training insights from Cooper himself. But today's conversation breaks down that World Championship gold, what makes him different from other people, his unbreakable confidence, which was a big key component of this conversation, how confident he is in himself, and the fact that he wants his competitors, anytime they hear his name, to fear him, to fear lining up against him, because he knows he has a better shot than anyone else when he lines up in an 800-meter race. If you enjoy this one, give us a follow so you don't miss more conversations with world-class athletes like Cooper. Give us a 5-star review. It takes next to no time and is the easiest way in which we can help grow the show and have it featured on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also consider sharing the podcast with a friend. That is the easiest way in which we can grow and expand and grow the show and my passion and love for the sport of running and track and field. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with the chosen one, Mr. Cooper Lutkenhaus. Cooper Lutkenhaus, welcome to the Running Effect podcast. A year ago when I was talking to you, we were discussing how you're going to win high school national meets. Now I'm introducing you as a world champion indoors. What changed in the past year?
And that's really a good question to think about. I think the biggest things is, having a different coach come into play. And he's changed a lot of the mentality side of things. Not even as much the training, but he's just, he always wants to win. And I've always wanted to win. So I think combining those two things together has, it's brought a lot of success so far. So.
In regards to, I made this comment a minute before we started recording. I've known you, or at least been at the same meets as you since 8th grade. We were both at Brooks PR when you were in 8th grade. And I've had you on for, different podcast series throughout the years. I made the joke way back in the day, like, oh, will you be the first high schooler to win, 4 Brooks PR titles in a row? And it's funny, the reason you won't be able to do that is probably not the reason that we originally thought would be the case. And it's funny because back in the day, I just spoke to you like you were a normal high schooler. I'd like to think I was probably one of, if not the first podcast you did. Now you're doing, media appearances, obviously left and right. You're still a high school kid. You're a junior in high school. How have you managed the media pressure and all these new obligations?
Yeah, I think the biggest credit would have to go to my parents just because they handle most of that for me. Whenever me and my dad sat down kind of after we turned professional, he was like, I'm going to handle a lot more of your media and just the business side of things. And then he told me just to focus on the running and the school, which is pretty simple enough, right? So my parents have done, probably most of it. And they just tell me whenever I need to do, if I have a meeting I need to go to or interview. Obviously, talking with you, I set that up on my own just because I know you pretty well. So I think this is our third podcast. So they've been a huge help when it comes to all that because there's no chance I could do any of that. It would be a complete mess and disaster.
Was that a shift for them at all in terms of like, I don't know their background. So pardon me to Cooper's parents, if you're listening, shout out your 8th grade son. Are they from this world at all? Has this been a shift for them as well in terms of like, handling business negotiations or, media, like PR stuff?
Yeah, so both of my parents are in the education side. My mom's actually my high school principal, and then my dad is an athletic director. So they hire people, so they're kind of, I guess, involved. So they would kind of understand it a little bit, but it's mainly my dad that does all of it, and my mom just kind of sits back and watches. But my dad had to ask a lot of people kind of how to navigate this route. We have a really good agent, and I'm just happy to have him, Ray Flynn, and he's been doing this for so many years now that he understands the process of everything, and we feel like we have it down pretty well, but there's still new things we're learning, every week it feels like. So, yeah, just the support group that we built kind of around us has, they know what they're doing, and, it's worked.
So when you need extra time off from school to win a world championship indoor medal, gold medal at that fact, do you have to ask your mom, the principal at the school, like, hey, I need these days off? How does that work?
So that actually, what was nice about it is I didn't miss any school because we were on spring break. And I really wanted to miss a little bit of school. I wish it wasn't over spring break, but I could have used another full week off. But coming back and then trying to do the work wouldn't have been fun. But um, no, thing is, she's at the meets too, so she's missing days as well. So it doesn't matter that much, honestly. School's important though, so still got to get it done.
Are they surprised at all by your success? Like at the dinner table, are you guys talking about you running ever? Or is it mostly school things, their work days, other things completely unrelated to the sport?
Yeah, I would say it's probably more unrelated to the sport. I wouldn't say they thought, at least maybe at this age, I could be, or at least run what I've ran. Whenever I ran the 147 my freshman year at Brooks PR, my dad was like, "Whoa, okay, here we go." Just because he was a track coach, and he's sent kids to college before, so he knows what fast is, which is nice to have a parent like that. Um, but normally at the dinner table, we're more talking about our school days. Me and mom comparing, who had the better school day. And my dad normally just listens, but no, normally we're off the topic about running, but if it does get brought up, it's normally not too long. I'll just kind of say how my training for the day went, and then whenever it's maybe into that race season, it's talked about a little bit more, especially with me and my dad. Just kind of talking about races going into what maybe should be the plan, and I think just being able to talk about it, like during World Indoors this year, we honestly we knew how each race was going to play out pretty well. And I think it's just those small moments where, you're eating dinner and you're just talking about everybody in the race and, how they like to race.
In regards to being the youngest world champion in the history of track and field, it kind of brings up this conversation of like youth sport prodigy, which we throw around a lot in running, but you're at the level of success within the sport of running that again, you're a humble guy. You might not like this comparison, but you're kind of the LeBron of our sport. Or you could draw, a Cooper Flag, I guess, was kind of a stud in high school, went to Duke for a year, then went to the NBA. You draw cross comparisons, really any sport, high school star. I think you're up there with nearly any of them. It just sucks that running isn't necessarily as well talked about. But what you've done equivalent to basketball, football, name another sport, you'd be getting, front page cover of Sports Illustrated. Does it feel that way to you in terms of the sports prodigy that you are as a junior in high school?
Yeah. I would say yes and no. Obviously track isn't, the biggest sport when you think about basketball and football. But to me, whenever you go to whenever I go to a track meet, I probably most likely am going to get recognized. I mean, that's just most likely. Who knows? But it just depends on the type of person. It never really bothers me how maybe a high school basketball star might get more attention if I was still in high school doing something. But um, I think track is just one of those things where you have to be into the sport and understand what's really going on, because I feel like a lot of people just like, oh, they're just running. It's not that hard. That's just not the case though. But I mean, in Europe, it's definitely a different. You wouldn't say that how you would over here. Running is the biggest thing to have, maybe besides soccer. But I guess it just depends on how you really look at it. But to me, that's never bothered me. I feel like I get plenty of attention, sometimes more than I'd like. But yeah.
In regards to the LeBron comparison, he obviously had the highest standard coming out of high school, going to the NBA. And the standard was like, oh, you could be one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. You could, rival, challenge Michael Jordan. In my opinion, he still hasn't. MJ is the GOAT, but neither here nor there.
Mhm.
For you, do you feel a similar comparison of like, hey, I have an opportunity to be the greatest of all time with this crazy head start that I have?
No, not really, honestly. Just this sport is so, there's so many ups and downs when it happens, and one day it could be your last day, and that's the way I look at running. Just because you never know it doesn't even have to be a running related injury when you think about it. So I'm really just grateful for every day I get the chance to run, even if it's not a race. Just enjoying those little moments that I feel like a lot of people forget. Training is 99% of everything. Racing is just that one little percent that you get to do. So, you might as well enjoy, the 99% of it all.
In regards to being in high school, still being a junior in high school, do you feel like you're in high school, or have you transcended that point a little bit and now it's just kind of getting through classes to get to training?
No, I definitely feel like I'm still in high school. Today I had a math test, and let's just say that probably didn't go very well. Probably need to study a little more, but like I didn't even finish it. That's how bad it was. But no, I definitely still feel like I'm in high school. I don't really talk about running unless it's teammates, coach, or family. I just don't bring it up. I just don't like to. And obviously, if you're a student and you ask like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Like on the running side, I'll answer it. But I try not to bring it up. It's just something that I only like to think about when I'm training, really. And I feel like most people would agree that I don't talk about it very often. But yeah, I would say I feel like I'm still a high schooler.
So you're staying up with the 6'7" trends and the glazing terms and all of that.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big doom scroller on Instagram. Instagram's better than TikTok, that's for sure. So I should probably get off of it a little bit more, but Instagram's just it's the best app there is.
I agree. I agree 100% with you. In regards to being on social media, how do you try to, be a kid, enjoy your doom scrolling, enjoy your memes that you might send to buddies, while also separating that world from, the publicity you get, probably getting tagged in posts constantly, people making edits of you. Like, how do you try to separate those two worlds?
Yeah, you just have to enjoy both sides of it. I have a little group chat with about four of my best friends. We just send reels to each other. We don't even watch them. We just send them to each other, just because we send too many. But on the other side with the running post, like more my account, that I take that pretty serious. I try to keep a pretty likable image, but it you just have to be able to switch back and forth between sending a funny reel that you find enjoyable and your friends would, and then on the business side of, I guess, Instagram.
For you and training with a high school team a little bit still, what are ways that on the running side of things you've tried to still feel, in high school and not necessarily fully switch to pro, or in your mind, have you fully switched to pro?
Yeah, I honestly, I still feel like I'm more in high school on the training side than the professional side. Honestly, like nothing's really changed from last year. Training, like I still do all my easy and long runs with the guys. It's just, and like even last year, my workouts I'd run solo. This year, I still run them solo. So and what's nice though this year is whenever we're kind of in our base phase of training and we're doing longer workouts, I can actually run it with most of our guys. If we ever have progression runs, I can do it with the team. It's just when it gets down to that 400, 800 pace stuff, it's normally on my own. But the best part about that is the reps are pretty short, so it's not hard to do it on your own. So yeah, I would say I still feel like I'm more in high school, and it's just the racing is more just professional.
I've seen you say things about this in regards to cross country. Feel good to be done with the grass, or will we ever see you lace it up again?
You might see me lace it up. We'll see. Maybe once next year, but a 5K, no more. There's no chance I could do an 8K. That would be. I don't even know what a good 8K time is, but no, I definitely didn't enjoy cross country. That wasn't my thing. I definitely think it helped. That's for sure. But 5K is a long way for an 800 guy. So I personally never enjoyed it, but I did love the team aspect of running with the guys.
It sounds like you're kind of taking things year by year, but is the general plan make it through high school, running professional races, and then turn pro, or a different trajectory?
And well, still just run the professional races. I mean, honestly that's the only thing I can do with being professional. But um, yeah, just keep racing how I've been racing. And try to make a long career out of it. That's my main goal.
For other running prodigies, the Hobbs Kesslers or the Drew Hunters of the world who have gone pro out of high school, have you talked to any of those people? Have any of those people reached out, given you advice, or has it mostly been solo going?
Yeah, well, I've talked to Jim Ryan and Alan Webb a little bit. Great people to hear from. They just kind of, they've done what I've done, better though. So just trying to learn off what they did and how they, just kind of hearing, like Alan Webb said something about just how he trained and how he tried to recover, and I love some of the recovery stuff that he shared that I haven't done before and have started to use, and I think it's definitely helped. And then also Drew Hunter, I've talked to a little bit. I talked to him at Milrose, I believe, and such a nice guy. I've I didn't really know who he was, I guess, in high school, and the most politely, just because I was probably like 8 years old. But kind of hearing what he did do in high school and then go professional and run pretty well for himself. It's always great to hear from guys that have done it before me and what to do and what not to do.
I think you had kind of made note of this before in regards to like, taking it one step at a time. Even though you're indoor world champion now, like, still got to put your foot to the gas and not let off. I want her to succeed in the sport, so by no means am I trying to make like a negative comparison, even though it might seem that way. But like a thing, Mo, she won the Olympics at 19 years old. I don't think it's a stretch to say she hasn't done anything comparable since then. Donovan Brazier is a guy who I'm so grateful to see back on the circuit, but he's another example, really fast, really young, tapers off a bit. He's coming back, which is amazing. So it's great to see that. But track and field, I think, is one of those sports where you can get really good young, maybe not as young as you are, but you've seen figures get good young and then kind of like, for whatever reason, just not keep it. How do you view those stories in relation to like, hey, I might be 17 and I might be the youngest world champion in track and field history, but like, I don't want to be known as that. And I want that to be maybe a small dot on the fourth paragraph of my legacy when I've retired one day.
Yeah, I think kind of what I said earlier is like how this sport is pretty brutal. Things can change in an instant. And like I said, you have to take it day by day. You can't think of what's going to happen a year from now. You can think big goals from a year from now, but you just have to take it one run at a time. Is kind of how we talk about it in our team. But man, I had a thought, but now I just lost it. But yeah, it's just you have to just look at it pretty small. You have to be big minded, but you also kind of have to have a small mind in a sense.
How do you feel about yourself in regards to yourself? Like, are you looking at yourself in the mirror like, I can be the greatest 800-meter runner in track and field history, or do you struggle with confidence at times?
No, I never struggle with confidence. That's something that I just never have. I still get nervous before races, but I'm not on the line like, oh, I think this guy can beat me. I look at every race as anytime I enter it, I feel like I can win, no matter who you are. I I think I can win. I think I can beat you if I have a good day. Now obviously you're not going to have your best day every day, but you kind of have to have that almost kind of like crazy talk to yourself that you think you can beat anyone in the world. And I feel like whenever I was on the high school side, I was like, oh, I think I can beat any high schooler. Obviously I wouldn't say it out loud, but I would say to my mind, stepping on the line, I was like, I think I can win this. And I think that's just kind of something that I've carried over and just kept using.
In regards to racing the professionals, I mean, some of these dudes have literal kids, not as old as you, but they have kids. Is it weird racing people who have been in the sport, you know, almost as long as you've been alive, and being on the start line and thinking like, oh, I know I can beat you. Like you've been in the sport long, you've been in more races, even at the world championships, right? Like your experience at global championships is way less than a lot of these guys, but still have that internal confidence of like, I think I'm better than you on the day.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to me, just like there's some guys I've raced that could be my dad. And I kind of just find that funny a little bit, but no, I just, anytime I step on the line, I always want to win no matter who you are. You could be 15, 20, 40, it doesn't matter your age. If you're able to step on a line like in say a diamond league race, it doesn't matter your age. That means you're going to be one of the best guys in the world, and age doesn't matter when it comes to, if you can still run fast.
What do you think? Because going into the world championships, I think what a lot of people thought is like okay, he's looked the best this season, but prodigies can choke at the highest level, right? It's you're at the free throw line, down one, you have to drain both shots. You know, is the pressure going to catch up to you, or a ball is in your hands down by two, you have to take 3-pointer, can you drain it? It's a lot easier to make those shots regular season games. Drawing that analogy to track and field, it's, you know, it's easier to run fast times, easier to win races when the pressure isn't on the line. How are you able to have the confidence of a world champion to ultimately become the world champion?
Man, I love the pressure. And honestly, I don't think it's ever really been a big worry to me. Like whenever in the final for World Indoors this year, I was very relaxed. There was no nerves for it. I was smiling the whole time. I was like, we're 17 in a World Championship finals. Like, what's there to lose? Now, to me, the most nerve wracking round is always the first round, just because it's the first round. Everyone thinks you're going to make the final, so we just got to get through it. The rounds are always more nerve wracking, and I think if you can just make the final, you always have a chance to, you always have a chance to do something, just because you never know what's going to happen.
For the training that you did leading up to the World Championships, what are you doing that's different from a year ago? Like you said, you're still training like a high schooler. What's the training that went into it?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is probably just the intensity. Like easy runs have just been a little bit faster this year. Workouts have gotten a little bit faster, a little longer maybe, but honestly, there's not just a normal progression, I would say. Nothing has been like, man, where did this 10 by mile come from? That's never happened. But like, when did he start doing that? When did he start running 60-mile weeks, which I couldn't do? No way. But it's just been a slow progression, but kind of a fast progression at the same time, just because we've been able to hit these milestones so quickly, and we're trying to just keep reaching for the next milestone.
How many miles a week are we running? Let's piss off some kids right now.
Well, this week I think we're gonna hit. This is my first week back. I think 24, and then next week probably be around 30. I think this whole year
What's
I've been
peak mileage
averaging
for you?
peak mileage. I think I did 35 for 3 weeks in a row, and then that was a little hard, so I came back down. So I think we're averaging like 32, but the most I've ever done is I think I hit 36 one time.
Crazy. The type of training of a world champion. I love it. Those who are mad at that, okay, those who are mad that they aren't running 142, running 30 miles a week. I forget who. I would name him. I would totally name him if I remember who told me this. But they told me about, and I'll probably get the details a little bit wrong, but they told me he ran a 600-meter world record in practice or something crazy, 600-meter maybe American record in practice as a rep. What's the story behind this?
That's a good question. I think they're talking about. I ran a time trial. It definitely was not the American record though. I ran like
Okay,
117, and
112 or
yeah.
something. All I know is you ran some crazy time in practice.
I mean, I ran 117, but that's not really anything crazy. I would say my
That's so crazy
craziest
to me.
split. My craziest split would either be the 221.8 running start. That's a very big deal. It was a running start, so sure, 22.2, whatever the sprint gurus want to say. And then I ran a 447 mid at the end of a workout. And those are very rare. That's maybe a twice a year thing, is something like that. But no, I ran 117 in a 600 time trial, so I don't know where they got like 112. I wish so. I wish that was a time trial.
I forget who asked me it. Maybe it'll come to me and I'll text you the name. But I guess, dude, when you get as good as you are, the rumors got to float around, right? I mean, when you're running crazy
Yeah.
times, people come up with stories. But I mean, even those splits are absolutely remarkable. How hard do you feel like you're going in these workouts? Are you pushing the interval workouts pretty hard throughout the week?
Honestly, they feel, unless you feel really bad, they feel pretty easy to moderate. Like they're obviously the last rep or two, if it's a longer workout, it's gonna start to burn. But whenever we do, like if we maybe end with some hundreds or 200s, they never really feel that bad. It's such a short rep that it's hard to really get that, lactic acid buildup unless you're running all out, which I'm not normally. Like around 800 pace, but for 200 meters of 800 pace, it's really not that bad. So I don't remember the last time I've had a true. Actually, I do. We ran a a 400 at the end of practice, and it was probably 40-mile-per-hour gust. And I come around 300 on like 47-second pace, and then I go about 52 because the last 100 was in straight wind. So that was probably the last time I've hit true lactic. But no, we don't really have any crazy workouts.
If you looked back at, a training log of the last 3 years, would it look pretty consistent in terms of mileage buildup, intensity buildup, or do you feel like you've done things in the past year, a couple years in training that have been, radically different compared to previous years that you would attribute results to?
No, definitely very, very similar. And then just a slow buildup. Like freshman year, I was probably running 25 miles a week. Sophomore year, 30 miles a week. This year, anywhere from 30 to 35, just depending on the week. And that's just kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted a slow build up, nothing crazy. We didn't want to go from 30 to 50 in a year. And that can work for some people, but that doesn't work for me. So just trying to keep it very smoothed out and not have a big jump somewhere.
What are you doing in the gym? You hitting the gym? And if so, what does that look like? How many times a week?
I'm normally in the gym 2 to 3 times a week. Pretty standard, pretty heavy. We do a lot of the secret gym stuff right here: trap bar deadlift, and short, not many reps, a lot of weight, just to build power in the legs. Like no, I haven't been in a little bit just because I was off, but I was in for the first time a couple days ago, and I did trap bar deadlift, and my hamstrings it was bad. So the slow build up probably truly next week of weight room again, but no, weight room it's probably one of my more favorite parts, just to be able to get to lift. I always feel like I'm pretty skinny, so I want to put some muscle on, but then my coach always says we don't want to be too big. So
What's the it sounds like you don't do it, but if I threw on the bench right now, what would be the 1 rep max?
oh, right now I'm gonna say 165. That's my guess
Okay.
right now. So
I
nothing
like it.
crazy, but I would say for a runner that's a decent amount.
For a runner, it's definitely a decent amount. There's some people I'd be concerned they couldn't even bench a plate on each side, so that's good news. Recovery, you mentioned you talked to Alan Webb about recovery piece. What are you doing to recover between gym, these hard workouts, and specifically still being in high school? Like I know you do morning practice a lot. How are you? Or maybe not, lack thereof, like recovering between sessions, knowing that you still have full days of school, of which, by the way, is even harder than a collegiate athlete, because collegiate athletes will like have class, but it's not like
Yeah.
8 to 3 every day.
Mm. Yeah, I would say recovery is probably the hardest part, just with an 8-hour school day, 5 days a week. So normally after practice, it's a lot of foam rolling and just hip stuff. And then go an 8-hour school day. And then during my lunch, I'm normally in the training room, either doing stem, game ready, or just stretching the calves. I normally get a solid three stretching sessions every day. So we'll go morning, middle of the afternoon, and then once I get home, throw the Normatex on for an hour. Best purchase you can make, by the way. Oh, get a pair of Normatex. But and then honestly, Normatex and just more stretching at the end. I have a 30-minute stretching routine that I do pretty much every night, and then 1 to 2 ice baths every week. Occasional just dunk in the ice bath, get right out after practice. But I'd still say for me, sleep was the most important one. That's actually what Alan Webb told me, is if you don't get 9 hours or more of sleep, I think he said maybe 30% chance higher of stress fractures. And I didn't know that. So I found that pretty interesting. So, my goal is to try to get over 9 hours every night. And, we're slowly building up to that right now.
The ultimate hack is Normatecing while doom scrolling before bed.
Mm.
I don't think you can beat that.
Yes. No, that's the best. 2 AirPods in, doom scrolling, Normatex on. That's nothing beats that, or music. It doesn't matter.
Hard to beat it. On the mental side, are you doing any visualization or sort of mental performance hacks or tricks that you feel like have helped you as an athlete?
No, I wouldn't say so. Unless I'm at a race, I do a lot of
Just got that dog in
visualization.
you, natural confidence.
Yeah, natural. That's all you need. I'm just a pretty confident person when it comes to racing. And what's there exactly to be nervous about? It's 2 laps around the track. So um, the only time I ever really focus on a race is when I'm, a couple days leading into it. I like to start thinking about it, but my favorite part is always when sitting in the stands and just kind of imagining I was on the track and running around it and seeing where I'd make a move or be in the race. So there's not really much just sitting at home and just kind of thinking about it.
What were the emotions of winning gold, world indoor champs? You seem incredibly nonchalant. So you seem like the type of guy who'd be like, it's just another race. Did it feel special?
No, it felt special for sure. I'm not a person with words to really describe races. It, it always feels like, man, okay, what do we got next? But I know this one is really special. And I've thought about it over the past couple of days, and talked with my parents about it and coach, and we didn't think this is where I'd be at 17. So just to be able to have the capability to do that, we're really blessed to have that. And we're just trying to enjoy every race we go into.
Were you ever slow? Were kids ever beating you, or have you always been fast?
No, I think the only time I've lost in a track meet was I lost in discus my 7th grade year. I got 3rd place, and then I got 5th the next week in discus. But I don't think I ever lost. I never lost an 800, 400, or four. I never lost a track race in middle school. High school, I lost a couple 400s and a couple miles, but never the 8.
I don't know whose idea it was to throw you in the discus, but your 800-meter competitors didn't pay them off enough for you to stay in that event, unfortunately. In regards to the mile, you brought it up. I've asked you about it. Previous editions, I've asked, do you think you could ever break 4 minutes in the mile? Has your opinion since shifted since you got really damn fast?
Yeah, we probably could have done it this past indoor season. Like we ran a time trial. I think it was January, with no speed work, just base, and we ran 4:06. And that was not great pacing, and I wasn't probably fully locked in as I should have been for it. But I think we probably could have ran on an outdoor track probably 3:58, 3:59. So nothing crazy with compared to a 1:42, but I mean for a high schooler, I'd take it.
What's the rule around doing high school meets? Like, can you do it? Like, could you do theoretically a festival of miles where the boys break 4 every year, or are you really beholden
Um,
to special meets?
I don't think I could do Festival of Miles. Like I could have done TDF where Caden ran 4:01 for Hoka. I could have done that one. I actually texted him. I was like, "Hey, you got an open spot?" And he's like, "Yeah, come hop on in." But I was in Poland for it. So it really depends on, I guess, the meet group. But like if I know for Nike Indoor, we thought about doing the DMR, but we were obviously in Poland for it. So um, I just don't really going to high school. I'll probably never be in a high school race again. It's just going to be the professional and I guess a little bit of the collegiate side.
It's exciting, man. In regards to college, is that on the table at all, or is it really taking things day by day and having that discussion as you get closer to graduation?
Like for running or just school?
It's both, man. I don't understand how this world fully works, so you tell me.
So with the NCAA right now, I can't run in college. I know they came out with the rule where it's like you can come back if you haven't accepted this, or this. I've accepted this, or this. So no more collegiate running for me. But it's kind of sad a little bit because that's really what I wanted to do, was go join a collegiate team. You obviously hear on the professional side it's pretty lonely sometimes. For me, it's not just because I still have a team, but I mean that's going to change in a couple of years. But um, no, it was definitely sad to leave the collegiate side, but it was my own decision, and I'm pretty happy with it right now.
In regards to being a professional runner, did you and I know you're still in high school, your parents I'm sure made you make sensible decisions, not that you wouldn't yourself, but Have you made any purchases after the professional contract hit?
What have I purchased? I don't even know what I bought a treadmill. Um,
Okay.
I think that might be the only big purchase I've made so far.
No
I
non-running
don't.
stuff? New pair of shoes. I guess you get shoes.
Yeah, no, shoes aren't an issue, but um, no, I guess a treadmill might be the biggest thing I've bought. Um, I asked my dad if I could buy like a Lambo, but he said no to that. So, um, yeah, I guess I'll just have to win a couple more races to buy it, but we'll see.
Olympics, LA 2028, and then you get the Lambo. Is that the
Exactly.
dream car?
No, my dream car is a G wagon. So got to save up a little bit more to buy it, but you know, it's up to
One
my
day.
parents. And yeah, one day whenever I move out of the house at 25, hopefully. So we'll see.
Dude, I was trying to kid in because I was at TDF. I did not know Texas, Dallas metropolitan area had ball. Those neighborhoods are nice, man. You're staying in the Westlake area. Did not
Mm-hmm.
realize Dallas had a game like that. Pretty crazy.
No, Westlake and Southlake are that's if you live there, you got some money. But yeah, no, they have a nice area around where he goes to school.
Even the high schools are crazy. Like the facilities, like TDF, he said is at the freshman and sophomore campus, and I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "This is where freshmen and sophomores go to school," and I was like, "Wait, you have the same high school, but like two different high schools?" He's like, "Yeah, man, that's how they all are." I'm like, Texas as a state is so confusing to me sometimes because they just operate so differently than other states. Like you tell that to a kid from Ohio, they'd be like, "What in the world are you talking about?" Like,
Yeah, it's like I think our school has like 2,500 kids, and we have a two-story building, but it's still not big enough for how many kids we have, and we've done so many renovations. But um, like if you come onto our little campus area, we have like our middle school, which is two-story, our high school two-story, our elementary is also two-story, and it's like I think we have four tracks, all within 1 mile of each other, and then like 8 football fields. So obviously football is taken. That's the number one priority. But to have four or five tracks all within a mile of each other, we have it pretty nice. That's for sure.
absolutely crazy. In terms of competing against, professionals, specifically world indoors, or just as you look to the future, do you like how? It's a stupid question, but I think it's a decent one. Of like, how are you able to beat them, realizing that running is their whole life, 24/7, and as you said, you have school 8 hours a day. How are you able to beat people at seemingly on paper such a disadvantage?
Yeah, that's a great question because I don't even know the answer to that. Every time I finish a race, if I've won it, I don't even know. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't have much lactic acid, build up really, so that probably helps. But you know, it, I just given a talent, and I'm just been, trying to use it, as to the highest level I can.
As you think about your future in the sport, I guarantee I've asked this every time I've had you on the podcast. So maybe refresh me as an answer. What are you looking to do in the sport of running? Let's talk, put ourselves in the future. I'm talking to Cooper, his final day as a professional runner. What would you have hoped that you had done?
Yeah. Just whenever you know, whenever a competitor hears my name on the start list, they have to be, probably worried about the name. That's something that I strive for is to, whenever I step on that line with other guys, I want that name to be like, oh shoot, we got to worry about him. And I would say that's my biggest goal. It's not about the medals. Obviously, that's what everybody thinks of. It's you could run 141, but if you don't get a medal, he didn't have that good of a career. That's just not how that works. But just to be able to step into every race knowing that I'm going to compete to the best of my ability, just because you never know when that last race is.
Let's talk about the next generation. You're seemingly so unrelatable because of how fast you are. I go to these high school meets. Dude, even with the fastest kids in the country, you're still kind of a mythical creature. What would you say to the aspiring runner, the high schooler who is listening to this podcast in their AirPods on their double or in the gym? Because they want to be great. They have aspirations of going to college or going pro. Like, what would you advise them or motivate them, encourage them as they pursue this running thing?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, you have to sit down and look at how bad do you really want it. Me and my coach had that conversation about if you really want to be the best, you're going to sacrifice everything it takes. And that's the big things and the little things. Are you going to set your phone down at 8:30 because you need to go to bed at 9? Are you gonna do that double even though you're feeling tired, you're feeling sorry for yourself, you just want to go home? And those are things that you're gonna see every day. And then once you really start looking at the things that those small things that eventually will build up, it's hard. It's hard to be at your best every day, and obviously you're not going to be, but you need to aim, to be at your best every day when you can. Eventually those days will add up, and you can soon hopefully achieve what you want to achieve.
Why do you think we've seen more high school prodigies in recent years, specifically in track and field? I mentioned the Hobbs Kessler, Drew Hunter, long before him. But before that, it was like a long gap. I guess Alan Webb a little bit. And then before him, Jim Ryan was way back in the day. And recently we have we have Cameron Myers, 19 winning Millrose games. We have Sam Ruth, 348 mile at 16. Even rolled back the clock a few years, like a Jakob Ingebrigtsen was crazy good in his high school years or whatever they call him in Norway. Niels Leros, super, super good last year going in the World Championships at a super young age. Quincy Wilson at the 400 meter distance, really, really good. Why do you think we're seeing this kind of resurgence of resurgence isn't the right word, but really for the first time in history, like high schoolers really mix it up with the pros at the highest level?
Yeah, I've actually talked about this a lot. I feel like it's just once one person does it, everyone starts doing it. And I feel like Quincy was the first one to really start it. I believe was that his sophomore year when he made the Olympic trials and then ran in the Olympics. And then I feel like me and him, my sophomore, his junior year, and then you had Sam Ruth come in this past year. I think kids are just realizing that you can do anything if you just work hard enough. And you see that on the high school side so much. Like I think last year in the 800, we had like 25 guys break 150. You never see that. I remember my brother when he graduated in 2023 he ran 150.0 in high school, and that was, I believe, like number 8 or number 10 in the country, and 149 is not even the top 20. So everyone's just getting a little bit better. I think obviously training's gotten a lot better, coaching's gotten a lot better, but I think kids are just realizing now that you can run if you do the work, you can run as fast as as you put in.
As you think to summer break, most kids hanging by the pool, getting in some cross country miles. You'll be in the Diamond League circuit. Does that excite you at all? Tour Europe a little bit
Oh,
selectively?
I'm very excited for Europe. I've been wanting to do these Diamond League races. We actually really weren't planning on doing them this year, but since this indoor season just really, it went exactly how we wanted it to. And we decided let's just do it. There's no world team to make this year, so let's go over to Europe and race the best guys in the world. That's where they're all at. Obviously, with the Americans coming over, just because we have, in my opinion, America has the deepest 800 team, but that everyone goes to Europe to run fast. The fans, the weather, the athletes, everything adds up, and that's when you see world records go down, world best. And I mean, yeah, that's what I'm ready to get out there and compete against guys like that.
Coop, you're the man. Keep crushing it. Congrats on all the success. And it's been really cool to see. Win a couple more races. Maybe you won't have to buy the G Wagon. Maybe Mercedes will reach out to you and they'll give you a promotional deal. I think your parents would sign off on that. So, hey, keep crushing it, man. Really proud of you. It's been great to follow your success and progression in the sport. And yeah, it's insane. So keep it up. And thanks for breaking it all down on the podcast today.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate it, Dominic.